the data comes from the United Nations. There is a branch of the United Nations called the Office of Coordination for Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, we call it OCHA. And they have a dashboard which anyone can access. I encourage you to do so. It's the dashboard of violence in the occupied Palestinian territories. That's how they refer to this entire area. And it gives you statistics which you can filter by place, by area, by perpetrator, by victim, by date, of course, ranges of dates and all of those things. And it shows you graphs, who the victims are by age, by location. But the statistics, the graphs were very misleading. When you take a closer look at the dashboard itself, we already had a red flag, because on the dashboard, towards the bottom, underneath all the graphs, it explains what's included and what's not. And one of the things that's included, the data for Arab casualties and fatalities, also includes people who are hurt or killed while in the act of carrying out terror attacks. In other words, if an Arab attacks an Israeli, either a soldier or a civilian, or invades an Israeli's home, or attacks them on the road, and is either harmed or killed in the process, they are counted as victims of settler violence. And that began to sound some alarm bells, for me at least. What else is included here? If you're saying that terrorists who are killed in action are victims of settler violence, what else are you counting? So on the dashboard, on the right-hand side of the page, it says, click here for the full data set. So I did that. And the response we got back was that the data set is only available to partner organizations, any organization that is a partner on the ground with OCHA. So we're applied to be a partner organization, being that we are a research institute and we would like to know what the facts are. And OCHA declined. They refused to allow us to partner with them or to share their data. So we actually worked with a criminologist based in France who asked for the data and was given the data for a 10-year period. We went only for the 7-year period in which we had specific line-by-line incident reports. And what we found was shocking. What we found was that vast majority of the data incident, the violent incidents that were reported were non-existent. First, right off the bat, out of over 8,300 incident reports, over 2,000 of them were actually mislabeled. They were Arab attacks against Israelis rather than the other way around. So we were left with a grand total of 6,332 incident reports. When we went through them, what we found was that 95% at least did not involve settlers. They were confrontations between Arabs and Israeli security forces. So small percentage, around 600-700 incidents even during that time period. We found some other shocking things. Most of the incidents either didn't involve violence, didn't involve settlers, or didn't happen in Judea and Samaria. So visits, peaceful, legal, supervised visits by non-Muslims to the Temple Mount are recorded as storming Al-Aqsa, trespass, threatening, somehow settler violence, when no violence occurred. The people who made the visit weren't necessarily settlers, and it happened in Jerusalem, not in Judea and Samaria. That was one whole category that we had to discount. That data we discounted. We discounted, in addition, things that have absolutely no connection to violence. For example, if the government of Israel decides to do road improvements on a road in Area C on Israeli public land, not taking anyone's private property, not impounding anything, not invading anyone's private space, but simply improving a road that is used by Jews and Arabs alike in Area C, that is considered by the United Nations Office of Coordination for Humanitarian Affairs, that is listed as settler violence. The Geneva Conventions require an occupying power which Israel, again, is not. But even if you consider Israel to be an occupying power, it has an obligation to carry out infrastructure improvements and to make life livable for the people under its jurisdiction. Listing those things as settler violence, aside from everything else, is violation of law, and it is an affront to common sense, and it is clearly motivated by something other than a search for truth or protection of of human rights. Other things that were included as incidents of settler violence included, for example, car accidents in Area C. Unfortunately, they happen. If a car accident involves a Palestinian, Arab, and an Israeli, it is listed as settler violence. No matter who was at fault, no matter what the outcome was, it is listed by the United Nations as settler violence. Absolute absurdity. In addition to that, we had things like class trips of Israeli children to sites of historical or religious significance. For example, a class trip to Shiloh to see the place of the original tabernacle is listed as settler violence. We even found incidents like an Arab laborer in one of the Jewish communities in Judea and Samaria was bitten by a dog, and that was listed as settler violence. I'm not saying there are no incidents in which there is Jewish vigilantism, in which troublemakers go out looking for trouble and find it, and when they don't find it, they create it. Unfortunately, that is a problem. And the government of Israel has invested incredible resources to fight those phenomena. And the government of Israel and its entire education system and community leaders and religious leaders and educational leaders are all working to bring those what do we call them, fringe elements under control, to educate against taking the law into your own hands, to educate against violence of any kind. Again, when we receive the data from the United Nations through our French criminologist, we were presented with essentially 6,832 incident reports covering a 7-year period. In the 6 months since the beginning of this year, there have been more violent acts by Arabs against Jews in Judea and Samaria than there were in that entire 7-year period. Even if you take the specious, ridiculous data provided by the United Nations, there were more Arab attacks in the first 6 months of this year, meaning from December 2025 through today, by Arabs against Jews than there were in that entire 7-year period that they reported.